3 months ago, JD Piquel, we were talking about how Alabama would ever recover from losing to Texas, struggling its way through a game against USF. They finally decided on a quarterback. And, well, they just picked up an SEC championship trophy, and they might be going to the playoff.
I know you're going to ask me, so I might as well just get to it. Because, having anticipation is something that's important to being a good coach. Not that I think I'm a good coach. But the message that I would send is we won the SEC. We beat the number one team in the country, which everybody thought on the committee was the number one team in the country. And they won 29 straight games. So if we needed to do something to pass the eye test, I guess that probably contributed to it significantly. And if you really want the four best teams to compete, the four most deserving teams that have progressed throughout the season. We're not the same team we were when we played Texas. We're not the same team that when we played South Florida. So I don't think we should be considered as that team right now. And I think people should look at the whole body of work in terms of what the team was able to accomplish and what they were able to do. And I think this team is one of the four best teams and one of the teams that's deserving to be in the playoff.
And it felt kind of decisive. Like it wasn't one of those things where you play it 20 times over and you split down the middle. Like Alabama with their game plan, with the way they executed, with the way that Jalen Milroe elevated this entire offense, this entire team. I think Alabama made a statement tonight, and I'm with you. And when it comes to just best four teams, I have a hard time leaving Bama out after that.
Well, and Jalen Milroe played his best game.
Yep.
Made a lot of good choices with the ball, no turnovers. Yep. And, that was kind of the bugaboo earlier in the season, like the Texas game, for example. But he played a great game against Georgia. It felt like he ran when he needed to run, when he needed to throw. There was a drive there where it felt like he and Isaiah Bond had the mind meld going on.
Yes.
And he's about to take a sack, and he kind of option pitches it over the middle to Isaiah Bond. And think about this. A week ago right now, Isaiah Bond was catching a ball in the back corner of the end zone at Jordan-Hare Stadium. One of the most miraculous plays you'll ever see. They were done.
Yep. That's the reason we're having the conversation. Yeah. The reason we're having that conversation is because of the 4th and 31 or 4th and goal with 31 yards to go.
Yeah.
And like you said, Alabama kept from doing the things that Georgia has fed off of all season, which is they're just going to play tennis with you, hit it back over the net, and eventually you make a mistake that Georgia just pounces on and goes on a run with. And there was never that moment for Bama or Jalen Milroe. In fact, they went on attack mode and put Georgia on the ropes. We hadn't seen that.
Yeah. It was making mistakes. You got a false start that backs up a field goal attempt that turns into a shoink off the upright. You got a fumble. It gifts Alabama a field goal. By the way, what was the margin of victory? 3 points. So, yes, and I agree with you. Bama, one of the best four teams. Now, what makes this so interesting is who they lost to.
Yep.
Because now maybe if Texas doesn't annihilate Oklahoma State in the Big 12 championship game, maybe that doesn't matter. But I kind of feel like it does. And so, I got Alabama feeling like one of the best four. The team that has the same record as Alabama won its conference and beat Alabama by 10 in Tuscaloosa. They're feeling like one of the best four, too.
It's tricky. It's so tricky. And so you get in this conversation. There's a way that it looks on paper with the resumes and the nice and neat and tidy records. And there's a way that it probably is when you play it on a football field. Yeah. And so which way do you lean if you're the committee? I don't envy them at all. Worst job in America right now.
Well, here's what I would ask them to do. When you're sitting there figuring out who number 4 is, what do you think is the game that will be the most competitive? What do you think is the game that we're all going to want to see?
Yeah.
Don't say they deserve to be there, so they're going to play.